Welcome back. The Democratic Alliance wants Parliament to intervene in the constitutional crisis involving former President Jacob Zuma. The opposition has slammed the police ministry's decision to seek clarity before taking further action regarding Zuma's arrest. In a statement, the party says it has written to the National Assembly to request an urgent debate, which it says President Cyril Ramaphosa needs to address, and they want the president to address the nation. For more on this, I'm joined by the DA leader, John Steenhuisen. Mr. Steenhuisen, thank you so much for your time. So you want Parliament to convene urgently to debate what you call the unfolding constitutional crisis. What would be the purpose of this debate?
Well, I think the purpose of the debate would be to do what Parliament needs to do to hold the executive, the president and his ministers, accountable for the events over the course of the last few days. I think it's very important that we get clarity on how the police minister and the commissioner of police used the state attorney to write a letter to the apex court, essentially second-guessing their judgment. Why on earth we have a situation where lockdown regulations are applied against citizens across the country, and yet the Zuma supporters out in Nkandla are immune to those regulations. Why people like Collins Causa and many others had to die or be victimized or abused at the hands of the police, when that self-same police just completely turns a blind eye to super spreader events taking place across South Africa. I think these are all things that need to be answered because they all affect the rule of law in South Africa and the principle of equality before the law. There cannot be two sets of rules in South Africa, one for the ANC and the connected and one for the rest of the citizens, particularly when so many South Africans have been asked to make such incredible sacrifices, close their businesses, shut down their only sources of income, and yet they watched the scenes unfolding over the weekend where it was treated with impunity. And I think that these are the questions that the President and his ministers should be forced to answer in the National Assembly.
And how soon do you want this sitting to take place? And I want to hear your thoughts on the separation of powers. Obviously, this is a legal matter. So the question is, what can Parliament do? So beyond just the debate and asking those in the executive questions around this, what do you think can be achieved from this debate? So after the debate is done, can that help get Zuma to hand himself over or get the police to effect the arrest as expected?
Well, Clement, this is not only a legal issue. The fundamental issue at the heart of all of this is the respect for the rule of law and the principle of equality before the law, which is enshrined in our Constitution. Parliament has a duty to uphold and defend the Constitution. It's part of the oath that every member of Parliament takes when they're sworn in. And these are the issues which we need to be doing to hold the ministers and the executive accountable for the exercise of the executive authority in South Africa. The police minister and the police commissioner have a duty in terms of the law to carry out the effects of the judge and affect the judgments given out by the judiciary, especially when those relate to custodial sentences. I think the president has a responsibility to stop hiding and to speak up and speak out against the events of the last few days. He stood on the Union Building steps and took an oath to uphold the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And to watch your own regulations being broken with impunity and doing nothing about it or saying anything about it, I think is simply not what we expect from a head of state who should be showing leadership at this time across South Africa. Instead, both he and his deputy are missing in action.
What kind of leadership do you want him to show? Do you want him to come and be very clear, draw the line in the sand and say, this is unacceptable? What role do you want him to play at this moment?
I want him to say very clearly that there is one set of rules in South Africa for everybody, and that lockdown regulations apply to every citizen across the Republic, regardless of whether you're a former president or not, or whether you wear an ANC T-shirt or not. Those laws must apply equally. I also expect him, as the head of state and the only publicly charged person in terms of defending the Constitution and the rule of law in South Africa, to say something about the monumental events over the course of the last 48 hours, but also about the judgment last week. He should be defending and protecting the Constitution and the rule of law in South Africa. He should be at the forefront of this fight. Instead, we've not heard one peep out of him since the judgment last week. And I just find it really odd that you're the head of state, the leader of your party, and you've got nothing to say to the nation about the monumental events of this last week.
All right. Thank you so much for making time. DA leader John Steenhuisen.